Hello everyone and welcome to the Dirt Floor Fab YouTube channel. Finally getting to where we're going to start working on the engine for A-Bomb. Got a pile of parts. I still do have a few things, timing set that I need to get, trunnion upgrade, stuff like that, small stuff. For the most part we got enough to do the short block. I almost have enough to do the long block, but in this video we're just going to be focusing on the short block. My goal for this year, whenever I do get the car out, is to put the car on the fours. And we did lose some weight. We are going to air to water, so I think it'll add a little bit of weight. So I don't know how heavy the car is going to be, but relatively speaking, I'm looking for 1,400 horse out of this setup. And whenever we do, we'll be taking it to Northern Performance to dyno it and have Kenny tune it. So stick around. We'll throw this bottom end together. Alright guys, so I'm kind of jumping ahead in time a little bit. When I originally shot the intro for this, I kind of had the bare block and I was going over, you know, what I was cleaning and stuff on the engine, and also talking about the setup that I have, you know, all the parts and stuff. And for whatever reason, I have like horrible breathing, like background noise, so I just couldn't take it, so I decided to reshoot it. So this setup is based off of an LC953 block, aluminum block, obviously. This setup is 353 cubic inches or 352 cubic inches, depending on where you want to round to. The block is deck 2 thousandths, which I wanted to go as little as possible because of the pistons. So how I'm getting 350 inches out of this 5.3 block is it's 3/8 bore. These are custom LE3 pistons with a custom compression height, and the crank is a 3/9 stroke Cali's Compstar center counterweight crank. There's the box for it. A LE3 set of, basically these are I think 0.3 dome piston, so real close to 0 dome. And then they have a change compression height to account for the 3/9 stroke crank with the, not traditional, but the standard Oliver Speedway rods. They are 6/125 length. So, as you can see, this engine is set up for 1/2-inch head studs. Can't really probably tell that, but also set up for a set of fuel hoops. You can see the receiver groove cut there. They're also cut into the heads. These are still in the plastic. I haven't started assembling them. This video is just pretty much for the bottom end. So this engine uses a custom Smallwood race development cam because the LS and the LT valve arrangement is flip-flop, so you have to cut, basically they don't make a cam blank. And honestly, BTR is actually just starting to make a cam blank for these, so maybe this swap will become more affordable. I don't really know of anybody that's running this type of swap in a boosted application. This setup is roughly 11.2 to 1, and we're going to be basically force feeding it with a G57 98mm VS Racing prototype turbo. I think it's got a 124 housing on it, and I'm hoping to push my car, my green Valiant, back there to a 4 this year. I did a bunch of no prep racing last year, and I would like to continue to do that, but this year mainly the goal is just to get my car on the 4s once I get this out, because this year hasn't really been a very productive year for me in racing, and it seems like every time I try to get the stuff going and get it out, it just puts me further and further behind, or setbacks or whatever. And I don't want to try to push to race the car a bunch. I just like to try to get it out there, run a number, and then, you know, maybe make a few small upgrades this winter, and then call it a year, start over again, hopefully with a little bit of a head start. So in this video, we're gonna go ahead and assemble all this stuff, and kind of show you some of the things I do. All right, guys, so I got all the mains out, and I'm starting to work on cleaning up. The one thing I do want to do, a lot of people modify this thrust bearing, and I'm gonna be one of them. I want this motor to live. So we're gonna take basically the block side main bearing and just file away just ever so slightly, basically a 45-degree angle on that ledge there, so it will feed oil to this thrust bearing. So just ever so slightly. I can't film this because I only got two hands, so I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. I'll move on from there. Alright, so hopefully this will focus. You can see that I ground away at that edge right there, and that's essentially the back side facing the converter, so it will move oil out onto the thrust surface while the engine's running. Essentially, it's not very much. You can see I didn't take off barely just the coating. They say 40 thousandths is what you want to take off. I just filed it a little bit to where I can see that there's a bevel there, and that'll take main oil, feed the thrust, and that'll be good. I'm going to continue cleaning this block and keep going on the build process. I got everything all cleaned up. Went down the main bore of the oil galley here all the way to the back. I got the barbell out. Got these holes cleaned. Bought like an aquarium, I guess, aquarium cleaning set. A bunch of these super long brushes in them. And then I had this thing, I can't remember what it was for, but I think it's a straw brush or something. I cleaned all the small holes, essentially, like the DOD towers. I cleaned with those. I used the long brush for here down the galley. And then like the holes that go from your mains up to the galley, I use that straw brush for. Bunch of brake clean, all that stuff. I got all the oil plugs out, so I'm gonna have to put a like a freeze plug in. I've got a freeze plug set or a seal set somewhere around here. Put one in there, and then it's got like a screw in plug here and then back here. And then I've got an improved racing barbell to go in the back here. I don't have a timing set, so I'm gonna get the crank dropped in and make sure it spins after I torque it, and then we'll pick back up. So guys, my GoPro died. I don't know where it left off, but essentially I dropped the crank in, torqued all the main bolts in, and then obviously it still spins really easy. Check my thrust. My thrust is at 3 thousandths, is on the tighter end, which is what we want. And now I just remembered that I do not have a 3/8 bore piston ring compressor, so I'm gonna have to go buy a cheap flimsy one, or see if the 378 will fit over a 3/8 piston. I don't know if it's like super tight tolerance, but either way, I'm gonna have to start filing rings and stuff. I want to put the cam and stuff in, but I don't have the cam retainer plate. I don't have the oil pump yet. I got the stuff ordered, but it's not here yet. So either way, I'm gonna be filing rings for a while. So not real sure, not real set on what I'm gonna put them at. I'm thinking either 28 on the top ring, 26 on the top ring, 28 on the bottom, or 30 and 20. Sorry, 28 and 30. My brain's not working right now. But I haven't really decided yet. I'm gonna probably ask Kenny what he recommends. Kenny Dangler, the dude that sold me the crank and stuff. And then he's the dude that the reluctor on. I know I don't really talk about my personal life a whole lot, but one of the things that I've learned as a mechanic is to, whether it sounds bad or not, never trust somebody else's work. So being that I bought my fuel tech from Kenny, I plan to have him just tune the car and put it on the dyno and stuff when it's done. It's one less thing. If he tacks the reluctor to the crank, he sets it up with his tool, he puts it on there, he welds it, he knows that he's the one who did it, and he doesn't have to worry that I'm an idiot, because the worst thing in life when trying to figure out an issue is somebody adamantly telling you that they put something on correctly. And there's just so much stuff that can go wrong that you just overlook. I don't want to like say any examples, but I've seen a lot of crazy stuff that you would think shouldn't be overlooked, and then you know, it's a learning experience if you make one. So anyway, took it up there, had him tag it on there. He knows it's good. If we have any timing issues with the fuel tech, once it gets on the dyno, then we know we can rule that out because he's the one who did it. It's not to put the blame on anybody, but it's from what I am comfortable with. If as a diesel mechanic, some people will tell me I put these injectors in, I know what I'm doing. Just stuff like that, and then like you get in there and like the whole rack and stuff is loose. And then you gotta tell them that it's, you know, something that they cause. It's not really what I'm getting at, but if you just take their word for it, you can just go on and on down some rabbit hole where you can never find the issue, because you won't look where the issue is because they said they fixed it. So got a little ran over. We'll get back to engine building. Like I said, I gotta see if my pistons will fit in the 378 bore compressor, because I have a solid compressor, and I don't think they will. If not, then I'll just start filing some rings. Alright, so these are the pistons I'm using here. They're Wiseco. They're made for an LE3. Obviously I have to run the different valve orientation of those heads to man a different piston. So this is actually a 5.3 LE3 piston that is 3.8 bore. And then these are 6.125 Oliver Speedway rods. I must mention that because I'm running a 3.9 stroke crank, this has a different compression height than a factory piston. I don't know it offhand, but it's basically a one change custom piston from BTR. If anybody wants to know it, I can reply to you in the comments or something. I don't think anybody's going down this rabbit hole yet anyways. But machinist set the rod bearing clearance a little bit tighter than I'd like. I bought another set of rod bearings from Kenny, ACL race bearings. I'm just going to plastic gauge them, put the new rod bearings in. I want to check how far in or out of the bore the piston is on the crank. Allegedly from the machine work, it should be 2 to 3 thousandths in the hole still, from the compression height I ordered, but obviously without just checking it, I won't actually know. So I'm gonna throw one in with the new bearings, plastic gauge it, check it, etc., and then I'll show you guys what I come up with. Alright guys, so I kind of left off. I don't really remember what I recorded last, but I got the piston in there. It's got no rings on it. I'm checking ring gap right now and filing them. I'm probably going to redo the check on the plastic gauge because I don't really know how accurate it was. I didn't have two rods in there, so it kept moving the rod over when I was trying to loosen it and stuff, so that may have messed with my number. I'm gonna just recheck it again. Right now I'm setting up pistons and checking out, like I say, filing my ring gap. These look like, I mean, I don't got a good eyeball for it, but that looks like 22. So be filing a little bit. I got my long dong feeler gauges. I'm gonna set these, I decided, to 26 on the top ring, 28 on the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and start doing that. I didn't show this the first time, but obviously on these aftermarket parts aren't quite like the stock parts. You can see one on the left side has a chamfer on it that goes towards the edge of the journal here, and then obviously you got to point the piston forward. On the other side, they'd be turned the opposite way for the other bank. On a standard LS rod, I've got one over here. I'll show you guys what that looks like as opposed to this. Normally a standard LS rod has a divot, at least in the Gen 4 stuff, that points towards the front, and then a dot. So you can see the dot. And then normally that points forward, but that dot is opposite. So yeah, normally on Gen 4 stuff that points forward. I guess it could be the same. This could signify front of the block, and this could signify the chamfer. Both sides are chamfered though. So a little different than normal. I'm just throwing this ring pack together. I got it gapped at 26 and 28. Checked my oil control rings. Those have 19 thousandths on each of those. Like I said, I gapped those. And then, yeah, want to re-plastic gauge this. Might have to get two rods together to do that though. And I'm about to clean the oil off. So I'm gonna get 1 and 2 together and then check and see what my oil clearance is with plastic gauge. I got a couple pistons in, just kind of showing. My camera keeps dying, so I've really been able to do like a walkthrough thing. But these pistons, because they're to change compression height, they run this support ring here for your oil control ring. Also, I really struggled getting these spiral locks in, and I guess I just wanted to say that it helped a lot rather than trying to run them like they are in the bag there. If you just pull on them a little bit and spread them out, they're so much easier to get in here. I really struggled on the first couple of them to get them in until I watched a video on it. So there's that. I'm gonna go ahead and assemble this and drop it in. I got both my, I think I already told you guys, I got both my top ring and my second ring gapped at 26 and 28. I've got number 1 and number 2 piston in that I even showed, so I'm working on 3. I ruined a second ring because I ground it too far, so it's got like 36 thousandths gap in it. So I'm about to order another ring pack. Hopefully it's not too hard to get from Wiseco. Well, run back through here when I get more parts. I'm waiting on timing stuff and front and rear cover, stuff like that. So if I get this all stacked together and show you guys what it looks like. So we are currently at the point where we have all the pistons in, all the rings are gapped, 26 on the top, 28 on the bottom. Throwing the cam in, I finally got some of the timing parts that I'm needing. I also have a Circle D billet flex plate put on there, which I don't have bolts for. I just assumed it came with bolts and it don't. So I'm gonna throw this cam in and then start putting the timing set and the oil pump on there. All right, and she's in. All the red stuff is obviously assembly lube. We got a new cam plate to put on here. Then we got standard 4-pole timing set for the upper gear, standard GM lower gear, and I have a C5R chain from K-Tech, which is supposed to be good for all the horsepower or whatever. I don't really need an adjustable timing set, so I didn't go that route. But yeah, we're gonna throw the cam plate on, the bolts, torque them, and then set the timing on it. Alright guys, so my camera keeps dying. I'm going to go ahead and call the short block done at this point. This is just a standard GM 4-pole cam gear, standard GM lower gear. It's time dot to dot. I don't plan to need to advance the cam or retard it at all. C5R chain from K-Tech, and then just a new cam plate behind it. So I think I got some video of putting the Smallwood race development cam in. As you can see, it's a billet cam. I think you can kind of see in there that it's got like a copper colored core. Engine's pretty much all assembled for the short block. I gotta start working on the heads. I'm gonna probably put the front cover and stuff on. I've got a melting oil pump here too, and like I said, I got a Circle D flex plate, but I don't have the bolts to bolt that on, and I still need to get, I think, the snout or whatever. I'm gonna be ordering a converter here soon, so I'll probably order that all at once. But yeah, so this is, hopefully, my intentions of this motor is to make 1400 wheel, which should easily put that thing in the fours. I guess if you want to stick around and see if I fail or how long it takes me to get there, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And I will see you guys on the next one. Hopefully I'll be putting heads on this thing and putting it back in the car and working on the turbo kit. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you on the next one.